I have an idea. You and I can have a conversation about how the state of the industrial music scene, the commentary, like the stuff that happened at Kinetic.
Or we could talk about stuff that's been going on for the past 6 weeks that matters. The least irrelevant thing ever, industrial music.
And hey there, folks. It's MouthFist time again. After a long delay. It's been ages.
It's been 6 weeks.
There's been an Ancient Aliens episode about us.
We could have birthed a kitten and have it be grown enough to give to somebody at this point.
That's actually true. I like kittens.
Holy shit. Hey, I just started recording first podcast in 6 weeks.
Ryan is irritated because we're finally recording.
I'll see you in about 45 minutes then.
Finally.
Okay.
We should keep that in there. That was pretty funny. Should we start again?
It doesn't matter. I can just cut it out.
Okay. That was pretty funny. So anyway, here we are. Back with MouthFist. Back with the podcast. Back with the kittens. Ryan, how have you been?
It's been so long, I can't even remember what's happened anymore.
I barely remember.
We recorded last before I went on a weekend trip to Las Vegas, and since then, I don't think anything exciting's happened. Seen some movies, and played some games. That's about it.
Fantastic.
How about you? Axe murder anybody? Build a spaceship to the sun?
Last night, I destroyed the heart of a punk rock poet over a Big Bang Theory meme, so I'm pretty proud of that.
Oh, yeah, that is impressive.
Thank you.
And probably one of the most tragic statements in history.
It is indeed, which is why I could not resist but mention it. And sorry, Chris. And also, I've been writing and editing and working on some stuff. Some boring stuff like employee handbooks for awesome people. Just doing my thing. Thinking about picking up a very part-time day job where I can get out of the house so I don't go completely crazy.
Well, that was the episode of MouthFist Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
That's right. It was a lot of fun. So Ryan, what are we going to talk about?
Well, there's so much shit that's happened since we last recorded.
Has it really been 6 weeks? Is it really almost June?
6 weeks.
Is it really almost June?
Yes, it is almost June, and the last time we recorded was mid-April, so I'm pretty sure the world has ended since we last recorded.
So I guess it's probably too late to write about Godicon, which I've been meaning to do on my blog for like the last. I had all the photos, blah blah blah. I
remember mentioning to you that you needed to write about Godicon, and I think that was like back in episode 0 or 1.
Yeah, pretty much.
And now we're in episode 9. For a while we were going pretty good there, and I was like, pretty soon we'll get up to episode 52, and it will have been a year. Now we're going to be like, episode 52 will probably be like 3 years in.
Yeah, probably. I mean, when it breaks down to me doing MouthFist or masturbating furiously, well, I'm sorry, it's been winning lately. My bad.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I've got infinite free time, so.
So he masturbates a lot. Yeah. Just so you know. Yeah. Like,
chafing like you would not believe.
Dude.
Even with all the lube I can get.
Try some creams. I heard they're a bit better than lube, but anyway. So you saw the Avengers. This is what everyone's talking about.
I saw the Avengers, yes.
When I was out walking with my buddy Dylan, he babbled about the Avengers, and now I'm getting away with you babbling about it, so go ahead.
How have you not seen it yet? You're that one person left in the world that has not thrown in their $10 on the movie.
I plan to. I know Nicole and I are going to go see it at some point. But in fact, actually, with my Dylan, who I was just mentioning, we were talking about it, and I'm just talking about going in to see it with him. So and Nicole, of course, and just it helps to have a friend drag you out, because I'll just forget about the Avengers.
Yeah, well, the world will not let you forget about the Avengers. It still made it made more money last weekend in the third week than Battleship did on its opening. Battleship spent $220 million plus dollars making the movie, and then made $25 million opening weekend. Holy Jesus fucking Christ.
There's gonna be murder time, isn't there?
I don't even know who the fuck that is. Somebody's calling from Ohio. Who calls me from Ohio?
My mom. You gonna answer that?
Go ahead, Kala. I should have put it on speakerphone and pretended it was a radio show. But, nah.
Could have been $1 million.
So, doubtful. Very doubtful. So, The Avengers was good. I mean, it's worthy of the praise and all the money it's getting. Mm-hmm. Better that than fucking Avatar or Titanic or one of the fucking Twilight movies or some of that bullshit. So, I mean, it was exactly what I guess most people expected it to be. It was just really well done, and fortunately they didn't hamper it by trying to make it too short or cutting too much of anything. It was just a good movie. I don't want to ruin it for you, not that I think there's anything left to ruin.
No, I already read it on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I'm sure you read it opening day. You read the entire plot. It's
a plot of a superhero ensemble superhero film, so it's gonna be nothing amazing. I mean, it's all about watching it. It's not about I saw the Avengers and what an experience. It's so much better than Schindler's List, and I doubt that anyone will ever say that. So
it was better than Schindler's List.
Okay, that's actually a good pull quote. Better than Schindler's List. Ryan Speck, author. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I don't really like Spielberg, and I don't like World War II movies, and with the exception of
you just hate Jews. You hate Jews.
Yeah, fucking Jews. There's another pull quote for you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Wind Talkers. I can watch Wind Talkers, though, but that was Pacific Theater.
What about The Gray Zone? The Gray Zone.
Never seen it.
Great date film, folks. If you ever really want to go see, it's got David Arquette, and it's written and directed by, what's his name?
Yeah, that guy.
That dude. It'll be in the show notes. But anyway, it's a great date film. You will watch it. It's an amazing comedy that takes place in World War II Germany, in World War II Poland, and it's just about these plucky Hungarians who are being held captive and are constantly joking and stuff. And one of this girl goes down. Oh, it's funny. It's funny. You'll love it. The Gray Zone. Yeah.
It's a comedy. It's very upbeat.
It is. It's
just a wacky screwball comedy. It's very 1950s style.
In fact, the writer-director was one of the wacky dudes on Chaos. If you ever watched that 4-episode show that I think NBC had.
I think it was either ABC or CBS. I can't remember which one. I've almost finished it, watching Chaos. I've got 1 or 2 episodes left. They showed 13 episodes, just nobody watched it because I think they stuck it on Saturdays or something.
Oh, they murdered the show after 4 episodes, 5 episodes?
Oh, yeah. It was canceled by then. They just burned off the remaining episodes once a week just as filler.
Yeah.
It was a good show, though.
Tim Blake Nelson.
It was an amusing little spy comedy. So I enjoyed it, meaning nothing to anyone.
Yep, exactly. Tim Blake Nelson, he was in Minority Report, he was in Holes, he was in The Thin Red Line, he was in Joe's Apartment.
He was really funny in Chaos, too. So.
Yeah, and he's equally as funny in The Gray Zone. I'm just saying.
Hard to believe, but true.
It's true. There's the Eric character. He's so funny. He's watching the prisoners. It's kind of like Hogan's Heroes. You know what I mean? It's sort of Hogan's Heroes-y, but with plucky Hungarian prisoners.
But anyway, Avengers, better than Schindler's List.
Find out, folks, why Sonderkommando in German means very hilarious people.
I thought it meant Sunshine Soldier.
It does. That's what Sonderkommando means. It means sunny soldier.
It's because of their upbeat spirit and personality.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They were for helping out their fellow Jews. Have I gone too far with this joke? I've totally gone too far.
Probably.
Way too far. But it's got Steve Buscemi and David Arquette. If you love comedies. It is also one of my favorite movies. But at some point, someone's going to write in because you hate Jews, Steve.
Well,
totally not true.
Fortunately, you beat them to it.
I'm Hitler.
That assumes a lot because it also means that somebody's listening to this show. Which
oh, God. What is wrong with you? Seriously, are you listening to the show right now? Are there headphones on? Or maybe you're listening to it off your speakers? I'm assuming you're listening to us via headphones. And I want to know why you would listen to this. You hear that, Ryan? You hear that?
Yeah.
That's my penis. Why would you listen to my penis? Ryan has to because he's bored and has nothing else to do. But there you are, sitting there in your home or at your office, dicking off at work, which is what most people do nowadays. No wonder nothing gets done. Cancer's not cured because people are too busy playing fucking Farmville, not even realizing how stupid Farmville's become, I guess, how much of a joke in itself, some kind of like recursive joke black hole. So,
well, Zynga's stock has shot into the toilet, so there's that.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear about the whole Facebook stock thing?
Yeah, it was a complete clusterfuck.
But I heard it went back up. So
not really.
Oh.
it's in the shit. It's dead.
That's too bad too, because Facebook has become the new. It's become ubiquitous. It'd be like if LiveJournal was actually more people gave a shit about LiveJournal or something.
Yeah. So it's the opposite of LiveJournal, basically.
I liked LiveJournal. I mean, you and I became friends through LiveJournal.
Yeah, but I mean, it got bought by Russians and then never went anywhere outside of Russia. It's huge in Russia, but everybody else stopped using it because it's just not. It requires too much effort in comparison to Facebook, which is much more casual.
It is. It's you might want to edit that out.
Dude, so much of the show is just going to be edits.
Or you could leave it in there.
I should just edit together a string of random phrases.
I am Adolf Hitler. There you go. Out of context, that.
Nothing so far has been in context.
How about I say, there's no way I would ever say the following. I want to gargle Adolf Hitler's balls. There you go. So that you can totally put that in with some editing magic.
Magic. That doesn't even require magic. It's not like I'm putting together different phrases. I'm just taking that phrase and playing it.
I want to gargle Adolf Hitler's balls. I want to gargle Adolf Hitler's balls. I want to gargle Adolf Hitler's balls. Yeah.
The magic is the play button.
And that's why you guys listen to this shit, right? I mean, all 3 of you, 4 of you, have we upped the numbers to at least 6?
No, we haven't. I think we've dropped off in listenership.
Shit, man. Shit. There's like a couple hardcore
Maybe
people
Brendan still listens. Are
Brendan
you still out
Ryan,
there, Brendan?
Yeah. Brendan, our one hardcore fan.
Fan is a strong term, probably. He probably turned off after he heard that he's our fan.
I don't want to be associated with these guys. Aw, shit.
They called me out. Oh, God. I got to go before the cops come.
So, Avengers is basically Ultimates, the movie, as done by Joss Whedon, who's the master of ensemble casts.
And it, even managed to fit in reasonable explanations of why, the heroes kind of get into fights when they first meet and shit like that. Thor and Captain America get in a fight, and it makes sense. It actually worked pretty well.
And I heard they even had a nod to Captain America being somebody from the 40s who's a good Christian. I mean, that's most Americans, especially white bread Americans like Captain America, Human Wonder Bread, is very Christian. Yeah. So he said something like, "He's not the God or not my God." What was that line?
I don't remember, but it was, yeah.
Which, it's Captain America. I wouldn't want to see Captain America any other way. So, I mean, he's going to be a God-fearing American. That's...
Yeah. Though part of that, obviously, was just public perception and the way that media worked back in the 1940s. I mean, 10 to 20 years before that, you had a huge... I mean, probably a larger proportion of the U.S. population than there is today was vociferously atheist.
Well, yeah. But Captain America, white bread American from the 40s. Of course, he's going to be...
Yeah, I mean, they played it well. They had the very distinct characters for each of them. And, I don't know, they played it up nicely. I'll be interested to see what happens with the next movie, because they keeping this shit rolling along. It's nice to know that every year you'll get a fucking movie, and they all kind of tie together in their little way. So, it's nice to have expected entertainment. It's not like, oh, I wonder if there's anything good next summer. It's now a fucking franchise. You can just expect to tune in next summer and there'll be another movie of some kind, which I think next summer is Iron Man 3. So I think it's directed by Shane Black too. So that'll be really fucking interesting.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
That will be interesting.
Obviously, Robert Downey Jr. and Shane Black are huge buddies after doing Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and who knows what else. But
now, I don't know if one could talk about the Avengers unless you're talking about it technically. If you could talk about As Long as Sea, you can talk about Inception. So, which is a film that has so many layers, is like a giant onion of awesome. But there's also, but the Avengers is a straight up superhero film, which is the way it should be. And there's lots of cool action. And I heard that Hawkeye, I mean, Jeremy Renner was kind of wasted playing Hawkeye.
a little bit. I mean, he's underused in the film, but the film is mainly about the main character.
Right. Is he the wisecracking Hawkeye, or is he the Hawkeye from Ultimates?
Probably more Ultimates. He's a bit serious and stern. I think that was one of George R.R. Martin's complaints, was that because in George R.R. Martin's view as like Avengers super fan, like it wasn't the right Avengers. Of course, I'm not sure if he's even fucking aware that Ultimates exists, but
it's only been around for 12 years, but yeah. Okay.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, but him thinking of it, he complained about the fact that Iron Man has has Hawkeye's character, and Hawkeye is kind of a stuffy militaristic guy.
Well, yeah, in Ultimates, I believe his whole family gets killed. Like, he is a badass murder machine. That's I love Ultimate Hawkeye. I also liked old Hawkeye too.
Yeah, which is more or less what this Hawkeye is, though obviously for much of the movie he's kind of like not around.
Well, really, the movie is Ultimate Avengers, like the weird mishmash of Avengers and Ultimates, right? The cartoon movies.
Yeah,
which I enjoyed. I really liked Ultimate Avengers films.
Oh no, everybody got used really well. The plot moved smoothly. It had plenty of had great humor. So it was funny. It was like had lots of good interactions. There was no like crap parts. There's just like, oh man, they should have cut this. Everything was really enjoyable throughout. So it was probably easily one of the most consistent Marvel movies ever.
With that in mind, Marvel, if you're listening, and I know you're not, but I'm just going to say this out into the universe. Can you please, for the love of fucking God, make a good Punisher movie? How hard is it to make a good Punisher film? How hard can it be? You could probably do it for $20,000. Like, how difficult is this to do?
I think the problem is that they don't know how to fucking handle it.
It's a revenge film.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that they're not sure what to do with it to make the plot interesting and give it some sort of hook. Like, the first time they tried more of like a straightforward, boring, non-comic booky plot.
Dolph Lundgren?
No. That was... I'm ignoring that even fucking exists.
It's actually, like, story-wise is probably the best of the three, but yeah.
Well, until the ninjas show up.
Well, that's very 80s. Yeah, you got a good point there. But there's some cool scenes. Dolph Lundgren made a pretty good Punisher.
Yeah, I mean, the Thomas Jane one was a little more, like, blandly straightforward, and, I mean, they kind of eschewed the violence in favor of revenge.
Yep, I like
a little
bit
Tom more
Jane
of a Shakespearean revenge film than it was a fucking, like, and then you go to just straight up gore and violence and him and just like over the top with the second movie, but at the same time it also kind of misses the point and becomes a little absurd, and the plot is shit, and the villain is very over the top and hammy and comic booky.
I know. I love Tom Jane as an actor. He's a really nice guy. Really fun to talk to about the Punisher. He's a fan of the Punisher, but he made I mean, it's not his fault, but he didn't embody the Punisher. Although he did. I mean, I really enjoyed the Tom Jane Punisher film. I own both versions of it. I've seen it multiple times. I love it, but it's not the Punisher. It's not the Frank Castle I grew up with. So when Ray Stevenson is a better Punisher.
Yeah, Ray Stevenson.
No offense meant to Tom Jane. Yeah,
he was the only thing that really worked about that movie was Ray Stevenson.
And there was some really cool, like, at what point? Now I want to know, when Lexi Alexander is putting this film together, they're like, okay, so there's some really cool scenes in Punisher Warzone. There's some really fucking awesome scenes, and then all of a sudden, there's fucking parkour dudes. What the fuck? It's a Punisher film.
Yeah.
I understand he's a comic book character who came from the superhero universe. I know that was like what Matt Fraction said when he did Punisher War Journal, which I initially liked and then thought devolved into a bunch of shit. It's because the Punisher eventually became his own dude. Punisher Max, to me, is the quintessential Punisher. Although I do like the Marvel Knights Punisher and him, beating up Spider-Man and stuff. But I really prefer Punisher without superheroes. He's a much cooler character.
And it's not like the movies are going to tie back in with each other at any point, so you might as well just pretend like the other shit doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not that, and it's really not that hard. And people say like, "Oh, well, you write it." I'm like, well, if I'll write a good Punisher movie, at least what I think would be one. But you got to keep it simple. You got to keep the plot dirt simple. Family gets murdered. You make it brutal and quick, and then you have Frank Castle recuperate from his wounds, come back and fucking kill them all. The end. That's it. He wears a skull. How hard is that to do? How difficult is this to do? I don't understand. Maybe I don't know. I've asked people at Marvel this. I've asked movie people this in person at conventions. They always dodge it, or they laugh and think I'm some kind of retard or something. I don't know, but I'm like, I don't understand how difficult this is to do. How hard is it? I understand there's all these like politics and things and 6 different scripts, and they got to add and take away all. Oh this stuff.
I think it has a lot to do with the perception of the people behind the movie, the people at the studio. They're the ones who I think are in large part to blame for fucking it up. Because whatever script comes in is going to get rewritten and rewritten and rewritten, and the studio's going to keep giving notes saying like, well, Punisher's a comic book character, why isn't this happen and this happen and this happen, until it gets fucking tainted, and then it's just shit by the end.
Or make it an HBO show. Here's a perfect universe. Punisher, HBO show, scripted by Garth Ennis, directed by the dude who did the Aggression Scale.
Because ultimately, if it's just going to be like a crappy action movie, then why bother licensing the Punisher at all? So,
well, they'll make it a crappy action movie.
So that's probably their perception of it, is like, if you're just going to make another action movie about a dude getting revenge, then why even have the Punisher license?
That's not how you pitch it.
What makes it the Punisher if it's
That's not how you pitch it. You pitch it. It's not.
But no, that's what they're thinking.
I know.
They're probably thinking like, well, if it's the Punisher, then you got to do something more with it than just have him shoot a bunch of people. It's got to be fancy. It's got to have all this other shit to make it the Punisher.
You take the Garth Ennis approach, and this is a good approach, but can go awry, like with Matt Fraction's War Journal. Is that you don't treat it like a crime novel. This is why I love Greg Rucka, but I started not liking his version of Punisher because it's not a crime novel. It's not a crime movie. It's not really even a revenge movie. It's a war film. And it's a fucking war movie. You got to look at it like this guy's going to war. He's crazy. He is a sociopathic, psychopathic killing machine.
It's fucking Death Wish. It's not.
It's
like
Death Wish meets the new Rambo
James Ellroy
film.
novel.
That's right. It's Death Wish meets the new Rambo movie. You need a Punisher like when he starts torturing someone, and then he brings that popsicle stick out, and he goes, "Oh, I'm just fucking around." They're like, "Oh," he's like, "No, really, I actually have a blowtorch, and I'm killing you," because he's sadistic. He's crazy. That's how Ennis did him, and that's really the way to do Punisher. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm like totally derailing everything. I feel very strongly about this.
Yeah, I felt the same way about the Crow movie versus the comic. I thought the comic, just as the Punisher, a very straightforward revenge thing. You've got this mopey, unkillable guy who just hunts down the gang members that raped and murdered his girlfriend and kills them.
Pretty straightforward.
In the movie, they felt the need to add conflict and make it a little more extended.
Metaphysical.
And add in this crow that can take away his... If you hurt the crow, then you take away his powers, and he is killable, so you can have conflict to resolve, and he's got to overcome an obstacle. It's like, no, it should have been just a fucking black and white movie about a dude just massacring the shit out of people. Like,
yeah, it's like Man Bites Dog, but here's the thing. The reason why they didn't do that, because back in like, what, 94?
In 94, that would have been fucking unheard of.
That would have been hardcore. Whereas now you could do that. If they redid The Crow and rebooted The Crow, they could make it, which I think they're doing, actually, rebooting The Crow.
They're rebooting The Crow, but it's going to be just another Crow film, just like the second, third, fourth. Did they do a fucking fifth one? I can't remember.
I don't know. I gave up after 2.
Yeah, they've made I saw City of Angels in the theater.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure Michael Bailey could probably regale us with a tale of us going and seeing that movie together. It may have actually been the first thing we really did together, just by ourselves. Like, we had known some of the same people, so I guess he was like, you want to go see The Crow? And I'm just like, sure. And that may have been the first outing we had as just the two of us hanging out.
If I was, and speaking about the comic book, if I was teaching a comic book class on writing, like that'll ever happen, maybe one day. That means I failed completely. But but if I ever do that, I would bring The Crow and say, read this comic and say, this is how you do a badly written comic, but put a lot of cool shit in there so it makes it cool, because being cool trumps any kind of technical prowess. That's what I liked about the Crow comic.
It's
absolutely rubbish.
It's the perfect case of striking while the fucking anvil's hot.
Bam.
I mean,
exactly.
He did an incredibly violent, dark, independent comic back in a time period when there wasn't violent, dark, or independent comics.
Yep. I've thanked him in person. Like, it's still one of my favorite comic books. I mean, this criticism of James O'Barr is not anything against him personally.
He's not a great writer, and he's definitely a fucking one-trick pony riding that shit forever. But
good for him. Yeah, but the thing is, that comic did inspire me. It's one of my top 10s of all time, because it's very
juvenile. It's the type of thing that
I love writing.
An 18-year-old boy will love the shit out of, because it just is all the fucking pent-up anger and frustration that you have.
I'm like that every day, Ryan.
When you're a teenager, you're like,
I'm 36
full of hormones, and you just want to avenge wrongs on the fucking world.
Now I just want to you grow out of that. You just want to basically avenge whatever. Like, I pooped wrong today. I need to kill 16 people. So
yeah, you don't feel the need for some great love that if taken away from you is going to cause you to destroy a fucking nation.
It is beautiful.
You just want to see everybody eat it after a certain point. You're just like, you just hope everybody dies. Like, that asshole parked in a handicap spot. God, I hope we all get nuked.
Let's murder him. So I mentioned the aggression scale, a movie you suggested I watch.
Yes.
And I know we've totally deviated from Avengers.
Which is fine.
I don't know how much we need to talk about Avengers.
Everybody, if you haven't seen fucking Avengers, go see fucking Avengers. The end.
Okay, I need to go see the Avengers.
I don't think anybody really needs our opinions on the movie that has made more money than any movie ever and has broken pretty much every theatrical record.
I would like to point out that my record still stands. I usually, in the old days when I did comics on comics, that the radio podcast with those guys, whenever we'd have to go see a movie, whether it's like Batman or The Watchmen, I'd always miss the film. Iron Man, I was the guy on the panel that had no idea what was going on.
You're always way behind the curve on those things.
I don't like going to see movies in theaters. That's all. It's not my thing. I like watching my living room in my underwear. I enjoy eating chips. I like being able to pause the film.
I don't know why, but I love going to theaters.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, I like going to theaters too by myself.
I don't even understand why that is anymore. Maybe it's just the excitement about new things.
Well, here's the thing. One of my greatest memories involves my ex-wife, which must be painful. And it's X-Men 3, which a lot of people think is painful too. But we were the only people in the theater. And it was great. It was my best movie experience I've ever had in my entire life.
So basically what you need to do is you need to go see daytime movies at least 3 weeks into release.
Yeah, I hate when people talk like that.
Weekday matinees.
Like that guy that punched that kid, he didn't know it was a kid apparently.
At my local theater. Yeah,
knocked it out in Kent? Was that in Kent?
Yeah.
And which is by Seattle for those of you who have no idea where Kent is.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, I go to that theater all the time, and I know very well that, I mean, it's a fucking showing of Titanic. I don't know when he was seeing it, and I don't know who the fuck goes and sees Titanic anyway, but I've never had any bad experiences with people talking during movies in that theater. There's been a couple of people that have dicked around with their phone for a minute, but nothing like they'll pull out the phone and check like their messages in the middle, and then they'll put it back in their pocket. It's not for the whole fucking movie, but it's long enough that I'm like, if they don't put that thing up, I might have to go down there and start punching them in the fucking head.
Yeah, usually what happens, my problem at movie theaters is someone kicking the back of my seat. I'll always turn around and say, excuse me, can you stop kicking my seat, please? And I'll actually say it very nicely at first. The second time, I just turn around and say, stop kicking my seat, and I'm very firm and loud.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's happened occasionally, or people like way down the road put their feet up on the seat with nobody in front of them and just start vibrating their leg, bouncing it up and down. And of course, all the seats being bolted together, it vibrates the entire row.
Right. Or people like chatting. Like if I listen to people chat and they're talking about the film, that's fine. If they're quiet and they, like you can chat like when there's like a pause. I might say, because I'm getting irritated by it. I don't want to hear their conversation. But people, like, I remember I had this guys next to me in the movie theater here, and they were talking about something like some kind of sports event, hockey or something. Probably it's Canada, and
fucking Canadians.
And I'm like, excuse me, and they're like, whatever, and I'm like, shut the fuck up or I'll decapitate you. And they're like, whoa, like, that's how I just go straight to death threats at the movie theater. And I know there's somebody thinking that's classy, Steve, but it's true. You got to death threat him. You got to be like, so this dude, I don't know what, I mean, he punched the guy. That's going pretty far. He could have at least complained.
Punched the kid. It was a 10-year-old.
Yeah, apparently he thought
apparently he had told them to shut the fuck up and they weren't listening. And he says they were throwing popcorn at him and shit.
Yeah.
So he thought they were older, so he turned around and punched the kid. And the kid was like, we weren't doing anything. We talked for a second and then got quiet. And he told us to be quiet, so we got quiet, but then said like one more thing like later. And he punched me without provocation, just jumped up and hit me.
That's true.
Which I probably tend to believe the adult more than the fucking kid. Even an adult who punches a 10-year-old.
I don't know,
I'm
man.
willing to believe him over a bunch of 10-year-olds that were together in a fucking movie theater seeing Titanic in 3D.
Well, he was Asian. And we know up here, crazy Asians chop people's heads off in cars or in buses. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
At our local theater, the funny thing is, it's quiet as shit. It's like the people are actually surprisingly respectful, even like the teenagers and stuff. Like Atlanta, that fucking no. In every theater, there's somebody talking, and you will be raging by the end of it. You will be hoping that somebody dies.
That's true.
It's like Southeast, nobody's fucking quiet. They're all a bunch of fucking assholes. But up here, it is surprisingly nice. Of all the stupid, assholey shit people do, the most passive-aggressive, retarded shit, but they're quiet in theaters.
I would like to cite a moment where I was at a theater in Federal Way, and my wife and I were the only white people in the theater, we thought, and there was like some noisy group up in the back, right? And when I saw them, and these people are asking them politely to be quiet and stuff, and they were like, fuck you, blah, 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 and we saw them, they were white guys. So I thought it's pretty funny because usually people like think that like the black people are very noisy in theaters and stuff like that. And
in the Southeast, they are.
It's because
it's not a stereotype. It's literally fucking true. It is part of the urban black culture is like responding and joking within the theater. They all like hang out in theaters because people would I've seen dudes just like wander in, sit on their phone, answer phone calls, and then like leave after 30 minutes. It's like people just wander in to have somewhere to hang out, and they just dick around when they're in there.
That is kind of weird.
It's very weird. And then when watching movies, they like make it kind of a group experience. Like you would joke around with somebody watching TV and something stupid happens on a TV show.
That I do find it irritating.
This is fucking retarded. But they will do that with like fucking everything. It becomes a big interactive experience.
So they're living up to negative stereotypes.
Oh, yeah. But it's generally only in like particularly like urban theaters and like in like fairly rough areas. It's like you don't go to the fucking white suburbs and any black kid that wanders in is just going to start some shit. It's just a local cultural thing, which is almost expected. And it's usually only in large gatherings on opening weekend type deals. Right. When the place is packed full of people, it becomes something that feeds off itself.
Oh, that's the thing too. Is like I was aware of that stereotype. So I'm in this theater full of black folks, and I was, the thought did occur to me, like this is the part where I say I'm not a racist, but whatever. And it did occur to me because I obviously watch I'm a human being living in the United States. And I was actually almost pleased, but also annoyed by these guys. I remember calling them a bunch of fucking loud crackers. And some people were giving me like the clap, you know, like as we're walking out, I'm like, you crackers are loud. And my wife was like, let's go, Steven. And these guys are like, oh, that was really good. Thank you. You know, and then they started getting the whole kind of, I guess, black thing on. But it was pretty funny. I guess you had to be there. But anyway. Now we'd like to fully accept now that we've mocked Asians, Jews, and blacks and white people, I would like to MouthFist is now officially an Aryan Nations podcast.
Wasn't it in the first episode?
Yeah. We're going to piss someone off.
When we talked lovingly of Hitler.
Oh, Hitler. Oh, he was misunderstood. I was watching SLC Punk recently, and I love the Wyoming scene where they're at this store, at the liquor store or whatever, and there's these couples talking. This woman's talking about the end of days, and then the dude's saying, you know, he's agreeing with her, and then one of the punks is like, but what about the Nazis, man? And he's all like, well, I like to view the Nazis as a gathering of people. And I'm from, you know, like, I lived in Eastern Washington, right? So I went from Germany to Eastern Washington. That was my childhood, with a little bit of Oklahoma thrown in Florida. But I was like, you know, I'm like, that's totally Eastern Washington when I lived there. They're like, I think they're misunderstood. They're, you know, there's a side, two sides to everything. Like there was like a side, like the Nazis were completely misunderstood, and we just don't get them.
We just haven't heard their argument yet.
Yeah, and it's like completely like teachers would say this, and it you know, it was crazy. They're insane. I'm like, really? Like, no, Nazis are bad people. There's no. Anyway. Very funny.
But anyway, the aggression scale.
But anyway, yeah, so enough of the Nazi shit. I really enjoyed the aggression scale. It's a really, really good low-budget film. That guy should direct The Punisher. That guy should.
The funny thing is that guy got a lot of shit for making the aggression scale because he had made really bad movies before or something. He made some shitty sci-fi channel crap.
Okay.
It's like... So I guess he was kind of hated, but I mean, it was a surprisingly well-done movie for a low budget. It was nice to see Dana Ashbrook and Ray Wise back together again.
Oh, Ray Wise was great.
Because they were both in Twin Peaks together.
Right.
But Dana Ashbrook was like one of the leads of the movie. He was probably in the majority of it. There was basically 3 characters in the majority of the movie, and Dana Ashbrook was the lead bad guy. Mm-hmm. And he did a really good job, which was good to see, because you haven't seen much of Dana Ashbrook since unless you've watched a couple of very particular TV shows since Twin Peaks was off the air. Yeah,
that's I found the film to be one thing I have to say. I don't even know why. Like here's the you know the Steve Niles moment. But I kept thinking, like, because I see pictures of Steve Niles, and I've seen him in person and everything too, and talked to him. But his the main hitman kept reminding me of Steve Niles, the Hitman. I don't know why. Not that Steve's ever going to listen to this, but I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, that guy for some reason reminds me of Steve Niles. I don't know why. Maybe it's the hair color, his stature. I don't know. I just thought, like, there's Steve Niles angry at them. Have you read 30 Days of Night? I'm gonna fucking kill you all. You know, like, anyway.
I guess if we're going to talk about it anymore, we should probably say that there would be spoilers, because it's not a movie you can really talk much about without spoiling it.
Oh, by the way, Thanos is in the credits in the Avengers. Oh, did I spoil that for anyone? Anyway, continue.
Yeah. At least you don't have to wait till the end of the credits on that one. There's a different thing after the credits.
With what?
The Avengers.
Oh, okay. I thought the aggression scale.
That's like mid-credits is Thanos. Oh. After the credits is just a funny thing.
The shawarma.
Yeah, that was really, really funny. It's so minor, and you so don't need to see it, but it was really funny.
Yeah, they're eating lunch together, right?
Yeah. After the battle, they basically say that they should go get some shawarma because there's a place nearby. And then after the credits are over, it shows basically the shot of them having gone to eat shawarma. And they don't say anything. They're just sitting there chewing and staring off into space for straight 30 seconds.
Nice.
That's it. It's just them sitting around a table in this like blown up shawarma joint eating.
Well, you never see in superhero comics like what they do afterwards. They they're just gonna like they're gonna see epic battles with dudes that can like poop and destroy entire civilizations, and they're like, Yeah, I'm just gonna go home and like what do superheroes do in their off time, right? So
apparently they added that joke in at the last minute. They filmed that after like a few weeks before the movie was released, or
that was a very smart decision. So
they just filmed that little bit to just throw in at the end. So
anyway, aggression scale.
Yeah, aggression scale, spoilers, whatever. But yeah, so you get a movie about a hitman basically looking for a guy's stolen money that he needs because he is a gangster that has been finally hemmed up on charges, and he needs to get the fuck out of the country, take his kid, and go on the run to a non-extradition country and live off of his money. But somebody working for the banking institution he had the money with has stolen his hidden cash. So it's
really not that much money either.
Yeah.
Like
not really, but I mean, when you need to get the fuck out of the country immediately, that's plenty of money to do it. If you're going to go to fucking Costa Rica for a while or something. But yeah, so basically these hitmen start going around murdering the shit out of people trying to find the money. The trailer gives you a slightly different perception of the film, but it still gives away more than enough. If you want to go into the movie straight with no knowledge of what really happens in the film, first of all, stop listening now.
Mm-hmm.
and go see it because it's enjoyable if you're interested in kind of, I would say, a dark, somewhat violent thriller. This basically kind of a home invasion-y thriller. Otherwise, so yeah, you've got the trailer kind of makes it look like there's this home. It makes it look a little bit more like there's a home invasion, and it might not be clear whether or not they've just got the wrong place and are torturing people and killing people for like no good reason. But the movie, it's like you're not sure when they initially get there since they just moved in, but it seems a lot more suspicious in the movie than it is in the trailer, that you've got these people that have just suddenly moved into a new house and things are going suddenly very well for them. Whether or not they're moving into a new house because they stole this money, or because it's an issue of mistaken identity and they're just happen to be at the wrong house at the wrong time.
Well, we all knew the money was in the mattress.
Did you?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I guessed it right away. I'm like, that mattress, they're having a hard time getting up the stairs. They just give up.
I wasn't really thinking about that. I was still like contemplating like other shit, like where the movie was going at that point, and I was thinking more about. I still wasn't sure they were even looking for the right people, because they were just going and tracking down everyone that had ever worked for this place and is murdering all of them. So I wasn't sure what the fuck was happening really with the movie. So I just knew that it was going to turn into this kid and this girl, because I knew that the adults who normally are around for a while, I knew both of them were going to get fucking killed.
Right.
That had already been spoiled for me. You basically are shown in the fucking trailer that
never saw a trailer.
The wife gets killed. So
never saw it, and it's pretty brutal. Like, you told me it was very brutal.
It's just very straightforward. It was just like they show up. It's not like a lingering thing. It's not like funny games where they're tormented for a while. It's just like they show up. They're like, "Where's our fucking money?" No? Okay, bang, you're fucking dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end of it. It's like, I liked the fact that it was much more straightforward. It was like, you have to give them credit at very least for going like, not like, well, let's keep them here for a while tied up and like maybe they'll eventually tell us. Now,
the other thing people told me, like, that wasn't just you that mentioned aggression scale. Someone else said like, oh, there's this movie you should see. It basically stars your son. And not that my son's a psycho killer.
I wouldn't have said that.
But he's autistic. And, you know, like
I looked at it as autistic Rambo.
Yeah, autistic Rambo, which is totally true.
It was like, that's what I was like, this movie is autistic First Blood.
Yep. And my parents, when I told my parents about the film, they were like, they said, so basically it was you as a kid, except you won't shut up. And I'm like, oh yeah. Like it was.
Yeah. It was interesting. I mean, it was I'm sure people have all sorts of complaints about the fucking movie, but it was intriguing in that it was that they handled the child character in a very interesting way, and there's nothing more annoying than bad child actors. So the fact that they didn't have him give any dialogue, but still got a good performance out of him physically.
That's actually more difficult than adding dialogue in many ways. So,
but that's usually what ruins things is like kids giving like really bad dialogue delivery and sounding so fucking wooden, like they're reading cue cards or something.
Yeah, because they are. Usually.
But it's easy to like get enough shots of a kid and say, okay, look at this thing, try to look menacing, and eventually you'll get like fucking 3 seconds of the kid looking really weird, and that you can just splice in. Whereas the kid has to deliver the line right. You can't cut together a fucking like good line reading.
But he's not. He's also not autistic. I got the impression that at first we thought he might be deaf because of the high pitched whining noise. Which, by the way, sounds exactly like how things sound when there's no sound in my ears because I have tinnitus. So, like, it's a it's I have that all the time, and he pretty much hit it spot on. I was like, oh, and so whenever he's like off his meds or needs to take his meds or he starts spacing off and hears that you notice that, right? I'm hoping.
Yeah, a little, but I mean, I barely remember the movie at this point. I saw it like 2 weeks ago.
It was a nice touch. I saw it a few days ago. I really, I think we, like, Nicole and I didn't think it was like, we didn't think it was like the greatest film, but we didn't think it was
but
like
for a really
bad.
low budget movie that's made direct to DVD, it was a pretty good little movie.
It's kind of like, like
and it wasn't made in a cheesy, stupid way. It was made in a very straightforward, well thought out way. It was like, the fact that it was like brutal and just like completely straightforward, didn't try to be gimmicky, didn't do any other stupid shit. That's what I liked about it. It was just,
there are some small plot holes, I guess, in the film, but I just didn't. The point of a film is to.
Yeah, it feels a little weird as far as the passage of time because it starts out at like breakfast early morning time, and then within what seems like 4 hours, it's dark. Basically, the movie takes place over a 24-hour period, but it seems like really weird. I mean, of course, why show the fucking part where dudes are wandering around the forest looking for these kids for like 6 hours or something?
And bravo him to Stephen Miller in casting a guy with alopecia. Is that what it's called? Alopecia. There's a dude with no hair, and
Which one?
What's that?
Is it the giant dude?
Yeah, there's like a guy that has no hair. He has like no eyebrows, no body hair.
Oh no, the giant dude that lives till almost the end of the movie after getting his leg snapped. He played Jason, I think, in the new Friday the 13th movie.
Cool.
And he is also apparently, aside from playing like badasses and being in horror movies and stuff, he apparently does like improv comedy.
Oh, nice. So I got to see his shit now.
That's always interesting when you see some like big, muscly, scary dude who's apparently involved in like, I forget if he does like martial arts and like he's like does like horror movies and does some stunt stuff or something, but he's like does comedy as well.
For some reason, that reminds me of Kevin Grievous, right?
Yeah.
He attended a graduate school at Howard studying for his master's degree in genetic engineering. He never got a master's program, but he has a degree in microbiology. You might know Kevin Grievous is the guy who co-created Underworld, and he also played the big deep voiced werewolf.
Yeah. Speaking of, I saw Underworld Evolution
as Awakening. You mean Awakening?
Or yeah, that's
what I saw it too, and it's like, how do you make
Was the Evolution the second one?
Yep.
Okay. I tend to forget their stupid subtitles.
Dear Underworld, this is my Dear Underworld people, how do you make a boring fucking Underworld movie?
It wasn't bad. There just wasn't anything to it.
No, it's like a preview. The whole movie's a preview. Yeah,
it didn't have much plot. I mean, I didn't have any problems with it, and that had the biggest group of writers to have nothing come out of it. Because like it was written by like Lynn Wiseman, and then J. Michael Straczynski did a version of it.
Ryan,
and blah,
I just have to tell the
blah.
listeners, I just grabbed a boob. Anyway, continue.
Okay. So you have this whole pack of writers work on this movie, and less came out of it than the other previous movies.
Yep.
Which the second one wasn't great. I mean, it turned into more of like some adventure film, like a fucking like Lara Croft movie all of a sudden.
Yep. I liked Rise of the Lycans.
I thought that was crap too, but mainly because you establish one thing in Underworld, you establish a mood and tone, and show us flashback to this story that they want to tell in the third movie. Second movie kind of completely breaks with the tone and story of the first movie and does something completely different. Then the third movie has a really weird tone and completely contradicts the flashback in the first movie. And then the fourth movie, it has the best group of writers you could possibly find to put this piece of shit together, and it turns into a bland, what was it? Daybreakers.
You
see that one?
Yeah, that was fun. It was
okay,
dumb.
but it was like there was not a lot to it, and it didn't deserve to sit on a shelf for 2 fucking years doing nothing. But
I know that you love the third Underworld movie, Combi Crisis on the soundtrack, and I know you're wearing your Combi Crisis panties right now.
Yeah, the rain of blood from my vagina.
But anyway, yeah. So I just, it was utterly forgettable. Underworld Awakening is so forgettable that I can't even tell you anything about it.
Yeah,
which it might not be a bad movie.
But it left it open for another movie. It was just not enough done, not enough to care.
And they couldn't get Scott Speedman to come back?
Oh, I mean, he was in the beginning of the movie, and then...
No, his face is CGI'd. He's not in the film at all. His face is CGI'd into a body double. I looked it up.
Huh.
It's on the internet.
That's interesting. I did not really notice that.
Yeah. Like, what, Scott Speedman?
I wonder if he was
busy?
not available. He was too busy washing cars for a living.
Let's see what Scott Speedman doing. Okay, let's find out what he's doing here. Sorry, Mr. Speedman, but we have to mock you. I'm sure he has a good reason, right? So, I mean, he's Scott Speedman, acclaimed film star. Oh, he's English. He's English-Canadian. Who knew? He does have that kind of generic Canadian look. And he's a working dude. He was in The Vow.
The last meaningful thing he was in is The Stranger.
The Moth Diaries. It's an Irish-Canadian horror film.
So basically he hasn't been doing anything for a while. The last theatrical movie he did was The Vow. And
Edwin Boyd, Citizen Gangster.
The Vow just came out before that. The last theatrical movie he was in was 4 years before in The Strangers.
I kind of want to see that.
The Strangers?
No, well,
it was good.
That and Edwin Boyd, Citizen Gangster. He plays the main character.
I saw both The Strangers and Them, or Ils, if you're French. The French horror movie that people said The Strangers was ripping off, even though they were both written at roughly the same time and were both being filmed at roughly the same time. The Strangers just took longer to come out.
It's got Liv Tyler. I like her.
Yeah, Them was kind of crappy because European horror movies are not particularly good, no matter what people like to say about them.
Right.
They're a bit pretentious, and they're usually not that well written. Them was okay but mediocre. The thing about that was it is a woman being tormented in a house by a bunch of a gang of unseen 13-year-olds outside trying to kill her. But if she had punched him in the face, there wouldn't have been a problem. But meanwhile, The Strangers was much more weird and kind of interesting.
Real quick, I have to say this before we get too far off. You mentioned European horror films, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with Japanese horror films.
They're shit.
Right.
Dog shit. Awful.
Horror films are a cultural thing. So nothing is more steeped in culture usually than horror genre films. Which is why we don't like when I watch German horror films, I totally get them. You would probably think they're absolute shit. But
I just like decent writing.
Okay, but I mean decent writing is.
I mean, there's a lot of American horror movies with really shitty writing too that I would call out. It's just like Italian and French horror movies. The shit that people say is so good now, is not. Like I can think of one good French horror movie, and that was Frontiers. That was a great fucking movie.
Yeah, I need to watch that with Nicole.
But that was the perfect modernization that was perfectly redefining the whole weird backwoods Texas Chainsaw Massacre style movie. You want weird cannibal family movie, that's the one you want to see, not some shitty American movie. You want to go see Frontiers,
right? And
of course it has the European touch of being weird backwoods France and cannibal Nazis.
But that's France, and I think stuff like France has a little bit close, but Italy's a bit different in their cultural tropes, and it was and Japan is vastly different. That's why The Ring had to be remade. Like Ringu is an annoying mess to me, whereas The Ring, is a really good movie actually.
Yeah.
So Scott
The
Speedman.
Strangers was actually really good. It's very dark.
Okay, I'll have to pick it up.
Very dark, tense movie. Really good.
He's also.
I thought it was pretty impressive. I thought it was very decent.
So anyway, Scott Speedman, why weren't you in? If you're listening, drop us an email. Why the hell weren't you playing Michael Corvin, the role that basically made us even give a single shit about you? It wasn't Duets. It wasn't your role in Felicity. It wasn't Dark Blue, though you did a great job. It was Underworld. And it wasn't Triple X State of the Union either, but it was Underworld. Underworld. Yeah, if
you're going to do Triple X State of the Union, you can't refuse movies anymore. Yeah. That puts the fucking end to you saying no to things when you do a Triple X State of the Union.
Wait a second.
No longer allowed.
Was he in The Ring? Or am I confusing Scott Speedman with somebody else completely?
Probably confusing him with somebody else.
I'm going to check that shit out.
Because he's not in The Ring. Because I'm looking at IMDb.
I know. So
I don't know who you're thinking of.
Martin Henderson, apparently. Why did I think it was Scott Speedman? Oh, that's because they look a lot alike. Okay, cool. Sorry, Scott Speedman. Sorry about the Ring thing. Well, anyway.
So he was in that shitty Duets movie, huh? I never actually saw that. Not that I would fucking want to, but...
Really, Scott Speedman should be in a Speed Racer film.
Had to hear that goddamn duet between Gwyneth Paltrow and Huey Lewis all the fucking time, because the gas station I worked at had one of those like satellite radio systems.
Oh, dear.
But it would basically often repeat the same songs over and over again. So at least once a night, I would have to hear that stupid duet between Huey Lewis and Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow is a bad singer, by the way, aside from being a dumb whore with all of her retarded pseudoscience new age horse shit that she feeds people through her newsletters and using her celebrity.
I would just like to point out that I think we might have set a world record of people talking about Scott Speedman.
Oh God, yeah, we've talked about Scott Speedman.
Scott Speedman.
We've talked about Scott Speedman more than his parents did.
Oh, ouch! Sorry, Mr. Speedman, but he really needs to be in a racing film. With that name, it's his name, Speedman. Okie dokie then.
It can be called the Speedy Scotsman.
Yeah, I like
the Speedy Scotsman for starring Scott Speedman.
The Speedy Scotsman. Oh dear God. I find that there's actually a mental illness where you laugh and make bad puns all the time. Like apparently I think I have it. It's like they say you might have like lesions on the brain.
I don't know. That's a stupid but very 30 Rock kind of joke or something.
I don't know.
Reminds me of Jenna being in the movie The Rural Juror.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up right now. The Rural Juror. Jesus Christ.
Written by John Grisham's brother.
Yeah, it's called Witzelsucht, which I never heard when I lived in Germany, but it means it's a set of rare neurological symptoms characterized by the patient's uncontrollable tendency to make puns, tell inappropriate jokes, and pointless or irrelevant stories at inconvenient moments. The patient nevertheless finds these utterances intensely amusing. It is associated with small lesions on the orbitofrontal cortex. It is distinguished...
I have a hard time believing that that's a real thing and not just an excuse somebody made up.
It is distinguished from pathologic laughing by virtue of congruent affective experience and expression and an admixture of irritability and mirth. It is most commonly seen in patients with frontal lobe disease or injury, particularly right frontal lobe tumors or trauma.
Sounds like you.
It does sound like me, doesn't it? Like I'm totally WebMDing myself here, but I'm like, holy shit, like that's me. Because I'll just say weird jokes sometimes. And then there's Forrester syndrome. It's a tumor.
Anybody that's listening to this podcast is probably pretty sure that you have that. Given the amount of stupid jokes that you have made and tales that you have told that you probably thought were super amusing.
And you're just like, what the fuck, Steve?
And that I then proceed to sigh.
Well, that could also mean that you're a humorless bastard.
We all know
Hey,
that.
man, I called one guy. I quoted Sheldon from Big Bang Theory and saying that, you know, like you're incapable of having humor. And it ruined one friendship.
See, that's probably another reason that...
that ruined one...
That's another piece of proof. The fact that you find Big Bang Theory funny is probably an example of how you are actually incapable of actually taking things seriously.
Oh, fuck, dude. Yeah, exactly. Well,
you're laughing at inappropriate things, Steve. The Big Bang Theory is the fucking Auschwitz of comedy.
Well, that and I'm laughing at the ruination of an acquaintance friendship, too, which I...
Yeah.
In order to have a punchline.
I laugh at you ruining your acquaintanceships as well.
Thank you. And I was all like, well, you know, like, and now I'm trying to ruin our friendship by saying you're lacking in humor. You don't like Family Guy. What the fuck is wrong with you, Ryan?
That's because I have taste. And I'm not a 4-year-old.
Ryan Speck's going to give us like you're going to give us an exercise in taste.
Oh yeah, that's
Right.
how low I think of the Family Guy.
Oh dear God.
Freddy Got Fingered was a good movie.
Oh,
but the Family Guy.
Man,
is
even I thought that movie kind of blew chunks, dude. Oh, like if I think your movie's unfunny, it's unfunny. there's no saving it. Like, remember Tom Goes to the Mirror?
Oh well, yeah, that was fucking dog shit.
I remember talking to somebody about that, and they were like, "Oh well."
Eric Carlson likes fucking Tom Goes to the Mayor.
I don't understand it
Or
because
did.
I should be the bar.
It's not funny. There is no humor in it at all.
Oh, there were a couple funny moments, but that's what sucks. It's like being force-fed bear shit, and occasionally someone puts pudding in there. Seriously, I'm assuming bear shit tastes like shit.
Having 1 or 2 jokes per episode does not make it comedy.
There were some really funny moments in the show.
Fucking House is a drama, but it was funnier in every episode than most sitcoms.
But I love stuff like Wonder Shows.
Being witty doesn't necessarily make you comedy.
No, but I mean, it had a really good like group of people making it. It just didn't come off as funny. It might have been the animation as well, which was really terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it was very specific. That was the style of shit they could do. But I continue to find them deeply unfunny with the shitty Tim and Eric show.
So those are the same guys that did Wonder Shows, right?
No, fuck no.
Okay, because I liked Wonder Chosen.
Yeah, Wonder Chosen, from some of the bits I saw, actually seemed amusing, and people really seemed to like doing it. And I know, like, a bunch of comedians were involved showing up on the show and stuff. But then again, a bunch of comedians have been involved showing up with Tim and Eric shit all the time. It's that type of shit where comedians like doing shit that they find amusing to do, but they don't get that it's not actually funny for the people watching it.
Yep.
It's like the commentary track to Mr. Show was really annoying at times because they thought it would be funny to often just do characters for the commentary tracks, and they would do stupid characters, and I'm like listening to the commentary track not to hear them do boring jokes and pretend to be people, because there's nothing less funny than people doing characters, but they did it for the whole time. I'm like actually interested to know like how some of the stuff came up, or like how like, and maybe a story behind some of the shit that they were doing, but instead it's just like stupid them talking in character voices for the entirety of the commentary track, which I fucking hated, but they thought it was funny to do that, and it's the same reason they thought it was funny to, like, that Bob Odenkirk thought it was funny to produce Tom Goes to the Mayor and show up and things like that, and why is it John C. Reilly or whatever shows up in every Tim and Eric thing?
No idea. I don't think I've ever seen Tim and Eric. But here's the thing. Someone out there somewhere, someone that's listening to this feels the exact same way about us. That's awesome. Yeah. They get on there frequently. Why don't they just stop? No one's listening. No one cares.
I think the same thing.
I do too, actually. But we're such egomaniacs. We have no problem, like, just recording our shit, which if we're lucky in a positive light, people just think we're racists, so which would be funny. Yeah,
I think I do it just to give myself something to do. I need a project to work on, and hey, maybe at least it's some content that I'm creating, since I don't ever bother to write anything anymore, because people care about written reviews of stuff even less than they do podcasts.
It's true. It's true. Like, I actually don't read reviews of stuff anymore unless it's like a gaming book review, because then it's a product review and I want to see what's inside of it. But also, I think Amazon reviews has ruined professional reviews and people reading them as well.
Yeah, I mean, also there's all sorts of things like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic that people go to get a quick aggregate of everything, and they just kind of skim down the list. They don't go specifically search out reviews. They go look at a site that has reviews, and then they just maybe look at one if they feel like it, or just see overall what people are saying. Not many opportunities, I think, anymore where people just full on go and read reviews. I mean, like, you get YouTube more for that too. People watch videos of people reviewing things, particularly when it involves like visual things like movies, occasionally music, and very much video games. Any kind of video game impressions and reviews, that's what people go to, is fucking YouTube.
It's true. In fact, stuff like this is not as entertaining.
Yeah. If anything, we're probably past the podcasting curve too. Anybody that wanted to start out podcasting probably did it years ago. now everybody's got a podcast and nobody cares. I kind of wonder who listens to podcasts in the first place.
I don't.
Because I don't go enough places that would require me to take things with me to listen to.
I don't listen to podcasts.
But I do kind of the same thing by watching YouTube videos of people doing stuff all day. So I guess it kind of similar. I end up watching a bunch of like video reviews and people doing let's plays and shit like that of games. So it's probably the same shit.
You live a sad existence, Ryan Speck.
Yeah.
Sad.
Also saw Lockout.
How was that?
It was good. It was not great, but it was good. It was enjoyable in a fun action movie sort of way, and Guy Pearce was awesome in it.
He's always awesome.
You know, it's got a certain something to it if the moment you walk out of the movie, Sharia asks, "You think they're going to make a sequel?" Because she liked Guy Pearce's character so much. I mean, it was great. I don't think Guy Pearce is the type of person to want to do a bunch of sequels to a sci-fi action film.
So why did he get so many bad reviews?
Why? Because reviewers... Okay, think about this, first of all. How many genre films do you remember that reviewers have given positive reviews to?
That aren't Batman?
Second of all, when a movie is maybe a bit trite or cliched, but fun, how many good reviews does that movie get just for being fun? Even if it's kind of the same old shit you've seen before.
Yeah.
I mean, people are willing to shit. There's nothing safer than shitting on sci-fi and fantasy and horror films as a movie reviewer.
I said this earlier on Facebook today, and it's like dance floor psychology applies to everything. And I'm just reading this thing here. It says Guy Pearce does the best as he can, but Lockout is ultimately too derivative and shallow to build on the many sci-fi thrillers it borrows from. But that's the thing. I don't want to see something new.
Why does it need to build on something?
I want to see the same old shit.
Was Doomsday a bad movie because it was basically Escape from New York?
Well, a lot of people thought it was a bad movie.
And meets The Road Warrior? I mean, it was a great movie. Those people are fucking assholes.
Even Gordon Rennie, he hates it.
Fuck Gordon Rennie.
No. Actually, big shout out to Gordon Rennie, who recently had a medical problem. So... a little bit of a
I don't have to give a shout out to him, and I've read your work, so shut the fuck up.
Oh, that's brutal. I love him. He's awesome.
I can say much worse things.
I know.
I'm staying polite.
I know. I'm like, oh man, Ryan, don't do that, dude. He's a cool guy. He just had some heart problems, dude. Come on, not cool. But you do suck for not liking Doomsday Lord.
That has basically lifted so many ideas from other shit to complain about a movie where someone did a good job of lifting ideas from other shit.
It also might be a cultural thing. A lot of my British friends hated Doomsday. Whereas a lot of my American friends loved it. So it could be cultural. He
played to the right audience, though, because who gives a shit about the 1 million people that go see movies in Britain? Being the most successful British film ever is not that much money. So play to your audience.
Now, I just want to say...
not to your critics.
Just want to say to Britain, I'm sorry about what Ryan's saying about your country or your nation.
Your tiny, minuscule country.
But I think you guys made an excellent aircraft carrier. That's all I'm saying. Great place to train our troops.
The 51st state.
That's Canada.
Thank you, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a funny movie.
The movie was actually called The 51st State in Britain.
Yeah, and then they called it, what was it?
Formula
51.
Yeah, Formula 51 in the U.S.
That was actually a funny movie.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable film. It also got bad ratings and reviews.
What?
See, people just don't like to have fun a lot of the times. They want some... unless it's like the right kind of fun that is socially acceptable to applaud or something.
Yeah. This is something I was discussing today with my friend Dylan. I was like, well, and it just brings up like Dark Knight, Batman the Dark Knight. Everyone loved it so much, and it was such a great film, and I don't really see much difference between it and Doomsday half the time.
Oh no!
I mean, it's a better movie.
The Dark Knight felt good to watch, but the moment you walk out of it, if you're smart, you start to realize how fucking stupid the movie was and how many flaws it had. How a lot of the shit didn't make any sense, and the stuff that did make sense was kind of some of the stuff was fucking stupid.
Although to Christopher,
like Bat Vision, why Bat Vision? Why was that in there?
To Christopher Nolan's credit, his shittiest movie is Batman Begins, which if that's my shittiest film, I could just die happy. So, you know, like, I love that movie.
Never seen Following, but yeah. A lot of people thought that Insomnia was probably his shittiest movie, but I thought Insomnia was pretty good.
I liked it, yeah.
I actually probably like Batman Begins as a movie more than I like The Dark Knight.
I agree. And
I think that's more of a writing issue with Dark Knight where
very small minority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't... Hopefully the new one will be good. At very least, I'm sure it'll be enjoyable and be well made. He's a great director, and I look forward to him making more Inception-type movies and less Batman-type movies.
Like The Prestige and Inception, two fantastic movies. So
yeah, Prestige was pretty good. I haven't watched it in a long time.
I just love movies with twists,
One of the problems was the DVD was kind of fucked and would not play on my DVD player that I had.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's one of those weird DVDs that some players just will not play at all.
I'm just a huge sucker for twists, and I love Twilight Zone. It's my favorite television show of all time. Nothing tops Twilight Zone ever. The worst Twilight Zone episode is still better than the best Star Trek episode. I fucking love the Twilight Zone, and I love movies like that. This is why I like M. Night. Voltron.
You brought up the other day on Facebook that you were having trouble thinking of good cerebral science fiction movies made.
Yeah.
In recent years, and obviously people rattled off a list, but one of the things I don't think people mentioned was Inception.
I think I might have mentioned Inception.
But yeah, that really is one of the great science fiction movies aside from Moon and Sunshine and Source Code and shit like that that's been released in the past decade.
And Source Code. Source Code was great. Like Source Code
Moon, was a good one.
Inception. All awesome.
Yeah. Sunshine is still probably my favorite hard science fiction movie.
Yeah, I was discussing that today as well. We were talking about how Chris Evans is a fantastic actor, and he is.
I still haven't seen the kind of true life biopic. Was it called like Puncture or something he was in? But yeah, he was supposedly good in that movie too.
Oh, and he was in Street Kings as well.
Yeah, I forget about that.
That was a pretty good movie too.
Again. I liked Street Kings a lot. I mean, it was David Ayers doing a script by James Elroy, so it wasn't bound to be awful. I like David Ayers movies. Did you see the trailer for that new one he's doing with Jake Gyllenhaal about the cops who piss off the cartel and the cartel tries to kill them?
Nice. He's currently in talks to direct the remake of Commando.
Yeah, it can't be worse. Commando was a fucking terribly written movie.
Oh yeah, Harsh Times, another one.
Who did that? Jeff Johns? Is that who wrote Commando?
No, it was Jeff
Which
Loeb.
shitty comic writer? Jeff Loeb. That was the shitty Jeff comic writer that was the writer of Commando. Yeah. But yeah, he wrote a few shitty movies back in the 80s.
Jeff Loeb did write The Long Halloween, which is a pretty good Batman comic.
People say that, but I don't care. I don't care about your comic writing. He wrote Teen Wolf.
He also wrote the third installment of The Ultimates, which was absolute terror. It was terror on a terrible scale.
He wrote Teen Wolf and Commando and Burglar, which Burglar was probably his best movie he's ever done.
What, with Whoopi Goldberg?
Yeah. I like Burglar. I watched Jumping Jack Flash again.
You're the first people in 20 years to mention that film.
I was just thinking the other day about how Whoopi Goldberg needs to make more... I wish she had made more comedies, because she was kind of the female Eddie Murphy back in the 80s. She was being groomed for those type of roles. She was playing in these, but wasn't played up. Like, Eddie Murphy was always kind of played as this streetwise guy who's kind of stupid but street smart, playing up his, I'm the urban Negro. I'm streetwise, but Whoopi Goldberg always played characters that were kind of smart. She played fucking computer programmers,
cunning characters,
and yeah, she played smart, educated characters. So I thought it was kind of positive in comparison.
Yeah, but she's a chick, so no one cares.
But yeah, but I watched Jumping Jack Flash again. That was still pretty amusing. Yeah. I liked Burglar more, but. Good job to Jeff Loeb on that.
There's a whole two generations of people who don't even fucking know who Whoopi Goldberg is, except as Guinan from Star Trek.
Yeah, she was in one of the last few episodes of the Middle on ABC, kind of playing comedy again and doing something like she would have done back in the 80s. It was nice to see her actually acting and being funny. But then also Jeff Loeb, we personally blame him for the downward slide of Heroes. because he basically took over a lot of that fucking show. Remember how he basically took over a lot of the plotting and running of Heroes, which is why it became more and more stupidly comic bookish over time, until it was just a fucking AIDS factory. It's still good acting, and I still ended up enjoying watching it, but the writing was just not great. The plotting was stupid as balls.
Yeah. Oh, Heroes. No one remembers Heroes anymore either. It was a flash in the pan.
Yeah. How quickly people forget. But, I mean, at least it made superhero shit mainstream enough to give a good push to other things.
True.
Not on television, but at least in film. Superhero films, obviously, doing well. Doing better than they probably should in some circumstances. But
Yeah, I was never... I mean, if they take the Avengers, for example. I was never a big fan of the Avengers when I was younger. I liked all the individual heroes, but I never really gave much of a shit about the Avengers. I thought the comics sucked, actually.
yeah, it was not really my area. I read a lot of... I was very familiar with all of Marvel shit, but I never actually read any of the Avengers-related stuff. I tended to read weird tertiary titles, random horse shit, and a lot of X-Men related stuff back before that became the cool shit to do, I guess.
Yep. Back in the 90s.
Back when there was one X-Men title.
Remember that? Remember those days? Wow. Uncanny X-Men. And then, well, you had other X-Men titles, but they were...
Well, eventually they added in X-Factor, and then New Mutants, then X-Force, and then X-Men.
No, I was an X-Factor reader. Hardcore.
Never really read X-Factor, unless there was crossovers. I never liked any of the characters in X-Factor.
I did. I thought they were fun. Well, it was darker. It was way darker than Uncanny X-Men was.
Well, at least eventually. It started out kind of stupid with the whole...
Whoa.
The whole saving mutants by pretending to be mutant catchers thing in like the first dozen issues.
Oh, you mean the ripoff of Strontium Dog? Yeah.
I don't know. But
Strontium Dog's a 2000 AD comic where Johnny Alpha and usually Wolf is his time traveling Norse sidekick. But anyway, they run the SD agency, and they're mutants who hunt other mutants. So search and destroy, Strontium Dog, get it?
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. So
though to be fair, it's not a new concept by any standard.
Oh no. Going back to the Gray Zone and the Zonder Commandos, which family comedy of the year.
X Factor was they saved mutants by pretending to catch them, and instead of like killing them or imprisoning them, they actually like passed them off to Charles Xavier, if he was even still around at that point. I think that may have been the period after he was thought dead or whatever. I can't remember. Or if he was in space or something.
Oh yeah,
he was in space for a long time before eventually coming back.
Those are some good issues. Well, that was the end of Chris Claremont's run. The space ones in the late 80s, early 90s.
When Professor Xavier finally came back. Yeah, that was towards the end. That was issue like... I want to say that him coming back was like some really round number, like issue 275 of Uncanny X-Men or something.
It had a really good cover. There was like a white cover.
Yeah, it was a gatefold cover with Professor Xavier and stuff on. Back when he could walk.
Right.
He could walk, and he'd been off in space with the Starjammers for years.
Oh, I love Starjammers.
Yeah, the Starjammers in there.
I love the cosmic shit, man. Love it. I guess Andy Lanning and Dan Abnett have a comic coming out in Boom. Also cosmic, I guess.
But anyway, this has turned into rambling bullshit.
It has.
It's been going on for a really long time. We should probably wrap this shit up and go about our lives.
We probably should.
And let these poor people who are listening go about their business. Go back to professionally regretting listening to this podcast.
Professional regret. You don't want to talk about the industrial scene, or are you going to save that for next time?
We're going to save it for next time. It's not going anywhere, that's for sure. The industrial scene is not going to change by next week.
Nope, everyone will still mock Faderhead. And yet Faderhead will actually seem cooler than half the scene. So who knows? Maybe I'm just bitter.
I just hate Faderhead.
You do.
Because I hate their music.
Well, yeah.
But then again, that could be said for most European industrial bands. I don't like their fucking music.
I like it. You're such a hater, Ryan.
I just don't like that shit. I don't want to listen to, like, techno club music.
I do.
I know, you like Scooter.
I love Scooter, dude. Oh, man.
Which is techno. I mean, if you think about it, that's what industrial music has become, is fucking Scooter.
Well, True.
If you put his distorted vocals on it, it might as well be fucking aesthetic perfection or something.
That explains why I like aesthetic perfection. Dear Daniel Graves, I love your music because you're basically Angry Scooter. You're essentially Broken Vespa.
I couldn't listen to it just because I can't take the fucking lyrics seriously, which is probably the same thing for Faderhead. His bullshit write songs about coke stuff. Dude, that was almost enough to put me off the last, like, Dismantled album, which I like.
What, the coke? It makes them seem more real, man.
Like, the bathroom floor. I don't care about your drug usage. You bring it up in a fucking song, I'm checking out.
See, 275 was the Havoc cover. Continue. That was a great cover. There's some great covers this time. Jim Lee, man. Fucking Jim Lee.
I don't remember.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Of course, yeah, I was thinking of 275. Man, you read my fucking mind.
I knew it was something fucking round. Very round number. And it couldn't, because I started, I think, reading X-Men at like issue 240 or something. So.
Right. Another one is 274, which has got the Jim Lee, Magneto, Nick Fury blowing the smoke rings with Rogue, and it's got Kazar, a very underrated hero, by the way.
Yeah, Kazar, man, that was a weird issue. That was kind of all over the place with Magneto and the Savage Land and stuff.
I really should reread this shit, because I really...
Yeah, I actually had a poster book that had like little... it was larger than 8x11. It was probably by like something like 10x14 or something like that. It was a poster book of tear out Jim Lee posters of all those X-Men covers. It had the art of the Captain America jumping through the air with the shield from the splash page of the Captain America Wolverine issue, like the World War II Madripoor flashback issue Jim Lee did. It had the cover to that issue. It had some of the Psylocke and Mandarin stuff.
Right.
It had a bunch of cool like posters. I wonder whatever happened to those fucking things. I used to have those hanging on my wall in my room. I don't know where the fuck they are now. Maybe I gave them to Mike. Who knows?
Man, the kids today, just comics aren't as... I don't know. I can't be a kid again. So it just feels, to me...
You cannot unjade yourself.
It feels like the 90s, like the late 80s, the mid to late 80s to the early 90s, the very beginning of the 90s was the best time, even with Rob Liefeld. But I love Rob Liefeld. He's a great guy. I just don't really enjoy his art. But at the time, for some reason, it was all magical. Even him, even the other guys. Like, I mean, I read Savage Dragon now and go, I don't like this art either. But at the time, it was all real cool shit. Jim Lee especially. I think I was like a god.
Yeah.
Still a great guy. But yeah, I mean, I look at the art now and go, wow, I like that art. Will's Portatio is another one. I really loved his shit.
Jim Lee pretty much changed the landscape of comic art.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to give Todd McFarlane credit, but if he was given credit, every character would look retarded and have giant heads and weird gangly bodies that bend in impossible ways. If you want actual good art that is surprisingly above the bar of the time, it was Jim Lee that really advanced the style of art.
Yeah, and I'll give a lot of credit to Eric Larson as well, just because of his stick-to-itiveness and dedication to the art craft and the whole image, basically the whole people that made Image, right? Yeah. Jim Lee and Will's Portatio was one of my faves at the time, though I'm sure it's not. Like his art, it doesn't really strike me as...
I didn't really like his art.
I enjoyed his X Factor stuff.
It felt like a kind of like copy of
Jim Lee?
Of Jim Lee's style. It always felt much more... It's like, it never felt completely finished. It was much more like liney, didn't have enough shading. It felt like kind of a weird hybridization of Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld or something.
Well, actually, I was just about to say that it's a Jim Lee Rob Liefeld combo. But it's the best of all of them. It has this kind of sketchy quality to it that I really enjoyed at the time because it was new. It wasn't the same Jack Kirby, John Byrne. Like John Byrne. Like, you know, when I was a kid, I loved his art. Right, it was just awesome. Because
his shit was the most clean, even though all of his characters look exactly alike.
But then you start getting into like stuff like, was it Walt Simonson? Like Thor?
Yeah. He had a very odd style.
He did, but it was...
Same thing cool with Romita and John Romita Jr. particularly had very weird art styles. Romita Jr. was fucked up. I never liked his artwork, especially like I remember like what was it, Punisher, Warzone, or
yeah, it was too
something.
blocky.
He did very fuck up weird. Yeah, it was like if Mike Mignola had not been trying or something.
Well, I also felt like I'm actually looking at Punisher Warzone right now, and I'm like they're all like angry Latino gang members apparently. Like everyone's just really angry. And what was it, Mike Zeck? Mike Zeck, like his Punisher stuff is the fucking quintessential Punisher to me. Love Mike Zeck.
But yeah, you also have to give credit to Alex Ross for coming along.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of inspiring people to do more realistic art style in comics. Because before him, there wasn't a whole lot of trying to go for like photorealism or anything in the way that people are depicted. And then after he comes along, then everybody starts... I mean, because as much as I didn't read it and didn't give a shit, I remember some of the art back around Civil War being really well done and very realistic looking. But yeah.
Oh, Steve Dillon.
Who gives a shit about comics?
Yeah, it's true. Is anyone even listening to this?
It's just a good farm for movie content. That's about it.
Well, to me, like, one of the things people think about me is like I'm some kind of comic nerd. And I guess I am to an extent. I love comic books. I've read them my whole life. I learned how to read reading comics. But one of the things about comics that people might not know about me is I see comic books as a means to get my stories out there. So everyone's like, aren't you happy you wrote a comic book? I'm like, well, no, I don't care. It was turned into a movie, a novel, a role-playing game, a video game, I don't know, a radio play. I would be happy in any way. So not to dismiss comics, right? So I like comics, but it's just because to me comics are just another medium. Like they're wonderful, etc. But I never understood the gushing love people have about them. I'm like, well, it's a fun medium, and some comics suck, and some are great, just like video games. Like why a comic is just a comic book or that format is just another way to tell a story. I'm sure a comic nerd out there got pissed off.
Well, good.
Me pooping on all over the comics.
Well, at least that means somebody's listening.
That's true.
Speaking of, it's almost been 2 hours of this crap, and I'm going to have to edit the shit out of it. So
yeah.
Hopefully you'll be listening to an hour-long podcast that has had about 50 minutes cut out, folks.
Yeah, we might even want to cut all that racist stuff out, because it could be like
racist stuff.
Racist stuff.
Let's cut out all the racist stuff.
The stuff that'll get us listeners, maybe.
Hey, we're not Faderhead.
Oh, and on that note, folks, goodbye.
Bye.